What's going on, everybody? American Football Network here with another video today. And today we are bringing you guys our Virginia versus Clemson preview and prediction video. But before we get started, make sure you guys like and subscribe. Comment those thoughts and opinions down below. Help me reach that goal of 9,000 subs by the end of October. We're about, 250 away from that. So let's get going. Let's hit that goal. But let's go ahead and jump in to today's video. We got Virginia versus Clemson. The line on this one, Clemson favored by 21.5 points at home. The over-under set at 57.5. It'll be a 12 o'clock game on ACC Network. You look at Virginia coming in. They come into this game 4-2 overall, 2-1 in the ACC. Got a win against Richmond week 1, 34-13. Beat Wake Forest on the road 31-30. Lost to Maryland at home 27-13. Beat Coastal Carolina on the road 43-24, beat Boston College at home 24-14, and then lost to Louisville this past Saturday 24-20 at home. For the Tigers, you look at them, they come in 5-1 overall, 4-0 in the ACC. Got beat up by Georgia week 1, lost that one 34-3, then beat App State at home the following week 66-20, had a bye week, then beat NC State 59-35. Beat Stanford 40-14, beat Florida State on the road 29-13, and then won this past weekend at Wake Forest 49-14. So the only common opponent so far for these two teams is Wake Forest. Both played at Wake Forest. Virginia won 31-30. Clemson won 49-14. When you look at some series history between these two teams, Clemson leads the all-time series 40-8-1. Clemson has won 5 straight. The last matchup between these two teams, Clemson won 41-23 in Death Valley back in 2020. Clemson won, Clemson won 29 straight from 1955 to 1989. You look at Dabo, he's 4-0 against Virginia, 2-0 in Death Valley. Beat them once in Charlottesville back in 2009, and then in 2019 beat them in the ACC Championship. You look, Clemson is 21-3-1 all time at home against Virginia. Tied one time back in the 80s, I think it was at 20. And then Virginia had a little streak going there. I think they won 3 or 4 straight against Clemson. Some of those coming in Death Valley. But for the most part, Clemson's dominated the series and dominated at home. You look at the injury report for this game. For Clemson, Tyler Brown, the wide receiver, he's questionable with an ankle injury. He's been out the last couple weeks. And then Bryant Wesco should be good to go. No other new injuries. I mean, the only other guy, Kobe McLeod, but he got hurt back, I believe, in the App State game for the season. You look for Virginia, no new injuries for them. Chris Tyree should be good to go in this game. You would think so. So, I mean, not really a whole lot on the injury front. When you look at some of the big headlines coming into this game, really the only one is Tony Elliott, the former offensive coordinator at Clemson, and Kobe Pace, former running back, returning to Death Valley. It'll be their first time back, so a bit of a homecoming for them. But let's go ahead and jump into our keys to the game for the Tigers into this one. But first, let's hit the stat leaders for these two teams. So we got Anthony Colandrea coming in, the starting quarterback for Virginia, 125 of 194 on the year for 1,490 yards, 9 touchdowns, 4 picks. Leading rusher for the Cavaliers, Xavier Brown, 46 carries, 334 yards. And their leading receiver, Malachi Fields, 37 catches, 541 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He's been a monster. On the flip side for the Tigers, Klubnik, the quarterback, comes in 123 of 184 on the season with 1,528 yards, 17 touchdowns to just 2 picks. Phil Maffa comes in 87 carries, 604 yards, 4 touchdowns. And Antonio Williams with 25 catches, 349 yards, and 5 touchdowns, the leading receiver for the Clemson Tigers. When you look at this game, it's won a lot of offense for Clemson. Virginia's offense has kind of been up and down. You look 34 against Richmond, 31 against Wake Forest, 13 against Maryland, 43 against Coastal, 24 against Boston College, and 20 against Louisville. For Clemson, 3 against Georgia, 66 against App State, 59 against NC State, 40 against Stanford, 29 against Florida State, and 49 against Wake Forest. So Clemson's offense seems to be more explosive, bigger plays down the field. But let's go ahead and jump into our keys to the game for this one. Number one key for me in this one for a Clemson win is stop the run for Virginia. I mean, that's where a lot of their offense comes from. They like to play off of that run game. Brown and Pace at times have been two-headed monsters. They've kind of gone back and forth all season on, who leads the team in rushing for the week. They've been pretty good. You got to watch out. Calandrea can get in the mix as well, running the football. That could really help spark that offense, give them some creativity if they're able to run. If they're able to run the ball. We saw Stanford run it pretty successfully on Clemson, especially in the first half. Florida State did not have much success running the football. Wake Forest with Claiborne and that little mesh play that they like to run, they had success at times. Now, it wasn't consistent throughout the game, but they had times where they had some big runs pop. So Clemson got to stop the run. You don't want Virginia to be able to run the football on you because that can open up a lot of pieces for this offense. It isn't a very good offense, but it can play a lead, especially if they're able to work off of a strong running game. Number two key to the game for me is keep Calandrea in the pocket and contain Malachi Fields. You don't want Calandrea getting outside of the pocket. He's not an elite passer. While in the pocket, he can make some magic happen when he gets outside of it. He led Virginia in rushing last week against Louisville with 84 yards on the ground. But not only that, Fields has led Virginia in receiving in every game this year but one. So you got to find a way to contain Calandrea and keep him in the pocket, because when he gets outside of the pocket, he can take off and run with it. But that also opens up, it's kind of a scramble play. Everything's off the table. Nobody runs the routes anymore. You're just trying to run around and get open. And that's when Calandrea has had some success finding Malachi Fields downfield and getting some explosive plays for this offense. So you have to find a way to contain that. Fields is the go-to receiver. You know it coming in. I mean, on the year, he's got, 37 catches and 541 yards. So he's the go-to guy, one of the top receivers stats-wise in the ACC. So you're going to have to find a way to contain him. Don't let him beat you. You did a good job last week against Wake Forest, not letting Claiborne beat you. You did a good job against Stanford, not letting Iomanner beat you. So got to find a way to do that here against Virginia. But not only that, you keep Calandrea in the pocket. You're going to get some sacks. You might even get a strip sack. He puts the ball on the ground. You might rush him and make him throw some interceptions. And that's something this Clemson's team has been very good at this year, is forcing turnovers. So, if you can get some turnovers in this game, that'll be huge to really keep Virginia from being able to compete. So, keep him in the pocket, get pressure after him. Number three for me is just pedal to the metal offensively. They're outscoring opponents 169-54 in the first half. Wake Forest, the first team to score on Clemson in the first quarter last week with a touchdown. So first half, this team has been unstoppable for the most part. Even in that Georgia game, didn't really do anything offensively, but you went into the half only down 6-0 and played really good. You just never could get the offense going, and the defense started to tire out, and that's when Georgia took advantage of you. So, you got to find a way to just compete and just put them away in the first half like you've been doing to teams. That's really what we've seen from Clemson all year long outside of week one, has just been putting teams away in the first half. So, keep doing that, and it should be a good day for the Tigers. So now to my score prediction. As I mentioned earlier, Clemson favored by 21.5 points in this game. The over-under set at 57.5. I have Clemson winning this one 45-13. So the over just barely hits at 58. Clemson covers the spread. And, I think I would have Clemson covering the spread, the over-under. Not so sure if I would necessarily play it. It could be a little bit risky. Last week I said under 62 against Wake Forest, and, they combined for 63. But, yeah, I wouldn't necessarily play the over. I'd be a little cautious playing the 21.5 for Clemson just because they do at times allow second-half points. So be cautious of that. But I think the Tigers get a big win here against former offensive coordinator Tony Elliott. I don't see Virginia being much of a problem for the Tigers in this one. But that's going to wrap up today's video. Thank you all for watching. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down below. Give me those score predictions in the comments. Hit that subscribe button.